right, that effectively ends the question marks we had about Group A. I think we might get the group up on screen, Hun Reloaded and Nolly Secunda going on. So Hun Reloaded were virtually secure going into this match. If Black Legion would have won, they wouldn't have knocked Hun off because Hun beat Black Legion, even if they were on equal.
Because they have so many points.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
So Hun didn't really need to bring something new. Why do you think they brought something new?
I think it was a meta decision. I think that they knew what they were going to bring, what Black Legion was going to bring, and they were worried about the 3 Vindicators just chewing through those Vargers. I mean, the Vindicators would have done really well against the Vargers, being able to get up close, 90% web, lock them down, and just tear them apart with the blasters. So I think they really just wanted the Showboat 3-win. So.
It is an interesting point, that they didn't need to win it.
Yeah.
So if anything, it may be something like the guys in the booth said, to throw people off for later, to show this setup and have people be focusing on it and then bring something else out.
Yeah.
And making that kind of decision is something that the really experienced teams have a lot of practice with, and that can sometimes be something that sets the best teams apart from the just good teams. And Hun obviously has as much experience in the tournament as anybody, having won the Fourth Alliance tournament.
And of course, also showing them 2 so different setups.
Right.
So saying, well, you can prepare for the Vargers, but then we'll bring this. But if you prepare for the ECM one, we'll bring the Vargers.
Yeah.
And I mean, they probably have more.
Yeah. I wish one of those rooks would have died so that we could have seen with jammers on it, because like I said, I think they knew that the Vindicators were coming, so they brought a all Glinte jammer
possible.
team.
In general, that Vindicator team is actually pretty good against ECM. It's single race, with the exception of like the one Jaguar or something. There was this one-off race, but otherwise all single race, all armor tanks. You can have ECCM on the Inuris, ECCM, possibly even 2 of them on the Vindicators. That's actually a tough thing to come up against with ECM, but Hun was just able to roll them still.
Yeah, I mean, they had to have known, in my opinion, that
it's very possible.
So that way they could stack up those jammers, because those assault frigates alone probably had enough DPS to take out that Guardian or take out a Rook or just get some of the ECM off the field. So they had to have enough Glinte jammers to spread out and keep those things jammed.
If we could just look at Hun Reloaded setup and just take it down a notch to if anyone's watching out there and don't know much about PvP and are kind of wondering. So we had a load of Rooks. That are of course Kaldari ships, and then we had an Amar logistics ship. So if anyone out there is thinking, well, why are they armor tanking Kaldari ship? How does that dynamic work?
Well, in this case, it gave them the advantage of having all those free mid slots. And for the Rooks, their power comes from the ECM modules that fit in the mid slots and jam the other ship so that they can't lock. So that gave them the maximum number of jammers. The trade-off is that it reduces the damage they put out, because the low slots they're using for armor tanks, could have been used for damage modules to make their missiles hit harder.
And it also removes the signal lamps off the field that they could have been packing.
The interesting choice, I think was an excellent choice on their part, is between the armor logistics using a Guardian instead of an Inuris. Inuris has been much more popular in general, but one of the big things that would be dangerous to their team would be a drone team sticking some drones onto the Logi. So they picked the Logi that can fit smart bombs.
Yeah, all right. Very clever. And of course, so what does the EOS do in this setup?
EOS runs the E-War link. It gives a bonus to ECM, so the ECM is stronger, which, like Ravi was saying, that the Vindis were packing ECCM, so those extra points were completely needed to get those jams through. Because as you saw, that Rook just getting chunks taken out of its armor whenever one of those Vindis wasn't jammed.
We've seen 2 really successful E-War setups so far this tournament. Agony's setup in the first day of the group stages, and then this one. Both of them armor tank setups with a huge amount of ECM, and both of them with EOSs.
And they've been working fairly well, and this was pretty cool. So Hun Reloaded, Nolly Secunda on to the next round, which is very, very cool. Anyway, let's talk a little bit more about our localization. So we're talking about the Russian players who some of the old guys didn't really pick up the localized client because they were so used to the English ones, and the new players kind of picking it up. Is there kind of like does everyone just start doing it right away, or do we throw something out and then like month after month more people use it?
It really does split, like you're saying, between old players and new players, and we do see an influx right off the bat of new players that want to try this new game that's been localized into their language. So we see that quite a bit. Generally, old players have a bit of a harder time accepting that because they've already gotten used to playing in English, and of course they're more hardcore than the guys that want to pick it up in their local language, etc. But it does continue to grow. The localization, the people playing in the localized language tend to grow faster than the people picking up in English. Most definitely, that stays pretty stagnant.
Does it translate everything, or do ship names and stuff like that stay?
We did introduce new functionality with the Japanese client, where we did rename ships and named items, etc. But we also introduced bilingual functionality that would allow for players to see them in English, see the names in English as well, to allow players to talk to each other and so on. And that's a really big part of it. We don't want to shard Eve down into sectors where people are speaking only one certain language. When we're continuing to work on ways to allow people playing Eve in different languages to communicate to each other.
And then of course there's some things in the English client that actually have Japanese names.
Yeah, like the Kitsune.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not just a hat rack, my friend.
And there are some strange coincidences with system names, for example, that mean strange things in other languages that were never intended because they were randomly named. Funny one with Japanese recently.
All right.
Kusumonmon means shit sexual frustration in Japanese.
All right.
So there was a bit of a oh shit panic, or oh darn panic, when we were thinking, do we need to change it, and found out the Japanese players weren't offended by this. They just thought it was funny, and some started living there. So.
Yeah. There you go. A little bit funny. My favorite system name is Old Man Star. I don't know why. That's a cool name.
I think there's a system named Ham as well.
Yeah.
Ham.
And CCP something.
Yeah, ccp.us, which
Yeah.
we goons actually own, and we use it to send messages to CCP.
All right.
I believe at one point it was CCP Grayscale sucks. Then,
Oh, that's a bit harsh.
well, we changed it after he did something. I remember, but
He fixed Titans for
yeah,
you. We should be
we
way
love
more
we
appreciative
love
than that.
Grayscale. Actually, that's why we changed it. He fixed Titans, and then we changed it.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So that was Group A. We can take a little bit of a look at Group Group B, which is Agony Empire, Godfathers, Fatal Ascension, and Dark Taboo, and this group is essentially settled, right? Like there isn't really anything that can knock this group out since it's Godfathers versus Agony Empire. So one of these teams will lose, but both of them will go on to the next round.
Yeah.
Let's get your predictions on who's going to win it.
I think Fatal Ascension is going to be able to take it. I think they're a little bit better team than Dark Taboo.
Which is saying something, but yeah, I think Fatal Ascension is going to take it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the one that sounds most like a porn movie, so I'm going Dark Taboo.
All right. I'm going to go with the one that doesn't sound like a porn movie, so I'm going to go with Fatal Ascension.